In today's episode, is it okay if I fire you? Get rid of my vacation? Have fun replacing me. Middle manager's quest for higher call volume drives away business. So let's get started. Is it okay if I fire you? Obligatory long-time reader, first-time poster, on mobile yada yada. This is a story of MC that a previous boss had done, but involved me directly, as will be explained. Timeframe is early 2000s for reference. In my late high school/early college years, I had a job doing telemarketing work during winter and summer breaks. While it was boiler room cold calling, we primarily were soliciting donations for agencies that had contracted us to do the work, so felt less scuzzy. Think police departments, fire departments, etc. We kept a portion of donations for operating expenses. Everything over a certain threshold went directly to the receiving party. Everybody wins. I enjoyed the job as the scripts were simple. I was allowed to read a book and such between calls, and a number of my friends were also employed there, so we could hang out during lunch breaks. The pay was a decent chunk above minimum wage at that time, so it was a good gig. I also had a knack for it, and at one point was fifth in sales across all their sites they had in operation, second in our building. One summer, while driving to work, my car promptly dies with no warning, and I'm left stranded on the road. As you do in this situation back before cell phones for poor college students were a thing, I walk to the nearest house and ask to use the phone. I call my dad, who starts driving to get me, and call my work to let them know I'll be late. My boss says fine, and that he will chat with me when I get in. Father shows up with my mother in 2 cars. I take the extra, and he begins the arduous process of towing my car back to the house. This involved tying a rope to the front of the car, and to the back of his vehicle, and crawling back home so he could fix it himself. I'd been in that back car, and did not envy my father being in the back car with only 10 feet of space between him and the car my mother was driving, but I'm off to work. I arrive to work, clock in almost an hour after the start of my shift, and am promptly told by the front receptionist that my boss would like to see me in his office. So I head on back. Beginning details completed. Cue the start of the MC story. My boss and I have always had a good rapport. I'm a good worker, get good reviews, and he and I have some similar interests outside of work we can chat about occasionally. When I arrive in his office, he's shuffling some papers around, and has laid out a few documents facing me. As close as I can recall, this is the conversation that followed. Boss, hope everything worked out with the car, glad to have you here. Couple things I need to discuss with you. First of all, as I'm sure you are aware, being more than 30 minutes late to work is considered a Class C violation. 3 classes, from C to A, C being the least egregious, if insufficient time is given prior to the occurrence. This is your first violation, so I'd like to talk to you about what happens next. I'm sweating at this point. I've never even been talked to about being out of order on anything while working here, and getting my first violation scared the heck out of me. So I'm sitting there, white-faced, and he continues. Boss, no official write-up or anything occurs for a first violation, or even the first few Class C violations, but it is manager's discretion on the punishment depending on past behaviors. Now, you are a good employee and I've put into corporate a few times to give you a raise, but because you only work during your school breaks, it is denied as you aren't considered full-time. So the papers I have here are your termination papers, and an offer letter I'd like to extend to you to hire you back on again. So, in short, before I file these, I'd like to ask, is it okay if I fire you? So we go through the process of him firing me, which then allowed him to extend an offer to me to rehire me at roughly a 25% increase in pay, since he could justify to corporate the bump as he was hiring someone with experience. In talking with him, he let me know it was something he occasionally did to the high school and college workers to get around the corporate's policy of not allowing raises to people that didn't work 1,000+ hours in a year. It was his own way of being maliciously compliant with a policy that didn't allow him to reward some people that he thought deserved it. He had been apparently waiting for me to do something that he could technically fire me for. The way their back-end systems worked, it wouldn't even show up as a break-in service, since the firing and hiring happened on the same day, and since I never worked more than the minimum 1,000 hours each year, I didn't have any tenure or anything to be worried about losing. The laugh he and the receptionist had when he walked me back to the front to introduce her to the new employee was enjoyable, and I've had a fun story to tell ever since. Get rid of my vacation? Have fun replacing me. I worked at a company that gave out exorbitant amounts of vacation. Anyone who worked there for 25 plus years received 8 weeks of vacation and 2 weeks of personal time. This was a family-owned company, but rather large. We ran 3 shifts totaling 250 plus people. Enter Jimmy. Jimmy was a grizzled old man. He started at the company when he was just 20, now he was 63, and gave absolutely zero shits. Jimmy also knew how to make a specific part for our product, him and one other higher up in the office. One day the plant owner comes out and announces he's selling to a corporation. He's older and ready to retire. He promises that there will be very little change and wishes us all well. The new company comes in and immediately goes after many of the great benefits we had. The first thing they do is cut everyone's max vacation down to 4 weeks, and do completely away with personal time. Anyone who's maxed out had until December 31st of that year to use it up, and they wouldn't pay it out. They'd then go into the office and clean house, firing anyone who's close to retirement, including Jimmy's backup. But they also do away with one very important rule. You no longer have to get vacation approved, you can just call in and take it. Jimmy is pissed, and they know it. They realize he's the only one in the building that can do his job now. So they hire a new kid for him to train, most likely to permanently replace Jimmy. So Jimmy does what anyone would do. He calls in the first training day for the new hire, and lets us know he's going to use all of his PTO at once, and promptly takes 10 weeks off. We had a back stock of parts he had made, so it wasn't too unnerving. But for 10 weeks, Jimmy went and applied to other jobs, found one, and started. Fast forward 10 weeks, it's the day Jimmy is supposed to return. He doesn't. For 2 days they try calling him, and even go to his house. He's nowhere to be found. Finally on day 3 he calls and resigns, and they lose their shit. The parts he makes are specialized and patented by the original founder. You can't just hire someone off the street to make them. What eventually happened was they had to contract the original owner to come in to teach some new hires how to make them, and when he found out what all they had done it pissed him off. The last I heard he charged them a 7-figure contract to teach them how to produce the parts, and they had to pony up, or close down. Moral of the story, don't f***ck with people's vacation time. Middle managers' quest for higher call volume drives away business. I had a sales job where the middle manager of the year, we went through them semi-quickly. Pretty much the entire sales team was considered expendable if even a single quarter went low, regardless of how long you'd been with the company, had decided that his big metric for success was going to be outbound phone calls. Apparently we'd sell more stuff the more we bugged people. He had IT whip up an automated weekly report from the VoIP system that he'd forward to the whole team every Friday at the end of the day, so we could see how we did compared to everyone else / the weekly goal he'd set based on how he was feeling that Monday morning. Thing is, we were in channel sales, i.e., B2B. Businesses know when they need stuff and how much of it they need, and they hate being pestered to order all the time. I immediately lost a few clients due to my middle manager's quest to drastically increase outbound calls, because the clients specifically asked me to stop calling, but my job was on the line if I didn't meet my call quota weekly. So they just stopped buying from us because it was too much of a hassle. Middle manager didn't care, it was his way or the highway. So, in order to survive, I couldn't afford to lose any more clients, or I'd lose my job due to not meeting my quarter-over-quarter and year-over-year goals. I found out which of my clients had circular phone systems, i.e., you call, and if you don't press anything, they just loop you through their options indefinitely. More small/medium businesses have crappy systems like this than you'd first expect, and then dialed those clients semi-randomly, and just let my outbound call minutes rack up, while my headset was laying down on the desk with that volume all the way down. Therefore, my outbound call minutes were always a little above the weekly goal, and my sales numbers stayed the same because I wasn't driving clients away. Needless to say, the manager lasted just a little over a year, and literally just disappeared one day instead of getting fired. Sadly, he wasn't even the worst manager I had at that job, just one of the more obnoxious ones to deal with. Fortunately, I've been out of the sales world for a while, and my current boss of the last few years is far and away the best person I've ever worked for. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.